very happy to collaborate with CIPE since 2018. Our discussion started around the communication between the public and the private sectors. And we then realized with the findings of 2018 that security issues were growing in terms of menaces perceived by private sector actors. The central place of the private sector in partnership with the public sector is essential, because on the ground, what's creating value, what's generating employment, what's allowing people to have the infrastructure needed to have their everyday life and needs covered is actually what the private sector provides. So when we looked at the macro data, we could see that basically insecurity pushes the countries to have higher military spending. And this is at the cost of spending for education and for most of the social spending that we need in terms of health, etc. We can see that this insecurity has kind of destroyed some of the achievements that we had in previous years in terms of longer term development. And this is longer term impact. When you look at the fact that in Burkina Faso, we've got I think 1,500 or even more schools closed. In Mali, I think that we're around 900 schools. We're talking about many children not going to school, and the situation has lasted for years now. This has an impact on hospitals, which are closed, but this has also an impact on local bank agencies. So all the things which make local life possible and private sector activities possible have been limited or completely stopped. We've got parts of the national territories not in the control of the state, and we've got issues connected to the integrity of our states. We've got problems now in terms of social cohesion. And this social cohesion, which is kind of the fantastic material we've had in West Africa and all the Sahel region for years, with great social engineering mechanism allowing us to abide by our hospitality rules, which allow people to travel, to be hosted in different countries. Well, this, with the pressure of insecurity, with the difficulties, with the poverty, is really destroying our social cohesion. And then we've got something that's really important, which is the credibility of our states. The development of this insecurity is kind of connected. Also, there are different elements, but one of them is the fact that there are areas which felt completely neglected by the states. And some of these jihadist or terror groups came in and filled gaps. And we have now a major challenge, which is to support our states and to see how we can bring back that credibility and we can bring back a rule of state.
Prosperity is one of the building blocks of a peaceful society. Well-trained, employed workers have a purpose and contribute to value creation. Sahelians themselves, and that's what Annick is saying, are assets of great significance for value creation. They include folks, social engineers whose agency consists in ensuring that no one is left behind and profit is shared in a fair way. Most of the time, what we have, intervention we have from outside, are about picking up actors, say NGOs, sometimes from outside, and then that creates more tension than anything else. And we have big designs that are fine, but difference is made on ground if the actors, the beneficiaries, as we sometimes call them, are those who really make the things happen. Please don't box us into security only or military interventions. We are far more than that, and our people wait for goodies, so to speak. Like any of us, they want education for our children, they want water and sanitation, they want health, and usually I say they want education for their children, and that is not negotiable. So I will stop at that. Thank you so much.
Unfortunately, the news and the recent news in the region has been dominated by insecurity caused by terrorist attack, violent extremists, which make the Sahel countries potentially less attractive to foreign investments. As you may know, during conflict and security crisis, the perceived risk by investor is usually high, and the cost of doing business, of course, is certainly onerous. But the situation, this situation really we see has really impacted the Sahel countries' economies in many ways, right? We have seen a huge toll of this burden borne by a local private sector.
Burkina and Mali have important gold mines in activities now, but because the threat of terrorism, they are not operating. Now, here this old saying that you need to work on two legs. You cannot work on one leg. Economy alone will not work if there is no security. And we had security before 2012, before the Islamists and the rebellion. We had an important project in a number of our countries. But we need security. I'm not saying it as a conditionality, but without security, the guy who is buying shares in business will not let his business invest in our region. So my point is, we should avoid putting it as a choice. You have security or you have business. You fight insecurity or you invest. The decisions are not as simple. We need good governance first to be attractive, and we need investment if conditions are there. And we should give enough guarantees, maybe too costly, to business doing. I give a concrete case. If you take Burkina and Mali, no big mining companies will go unless additional guarantees. And government, because insecurity, cannot give these additional guarantees. The biggest threat in the region is, and not only the region, in most parts of the continent, is a problem of governance, whether private and public. It is the need of transparency in managing government, in managing private sector. And because the countries are overall underpopulated, there is almost no confidentiality. Any bad deed is immediately known and the interpretation multiplied.
I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. I think that it's quite clear to everyone the connection between development, poverty, unemployment, insecurity, and how all the terror groups kind of feed onto all the frustrations, lack of perspectives that people have. And basically it's easier to recruit someone who doesn't have anything to lose. And the Sahel problem has kind of accelerated in 2011 with the Libyan crisis. And this Libyan crisis had different components and different consequences. But one of them was that we had loads of people who were working in Libya who had to come back home with nothing. And some of them had only the ability to be security or insecurity people. And it was easy to recruit them when they don't have anything else to live and they actually become a burden to their family. When we think about public policy and the issue of Sahel, we need to remember it's not just numbers. It's not just, looking at global terrorism and the impact on the world. It's also thinking about people on the ground, and people working on their own development. And the Sahel at the moment, when we look at media, it's terror attacks, and we might forget that this is an area which has ancient traditions, absolutely fantastic culture, which has the desert seems empty, but if there's one thing that the desert is not, it's empty, because there are millennium-long agreements, there are trade routes, it's a place which is not a blank sheet. And this is what policymakers and all the people working in the G5 Sahel, our diplomats and our private sector are working with on the ground.